So you've signed your first paid coaching client. Woohoo! And now it's time to have your first coaching session. And you're freaking out. What do I do? What if I do it wrong? I don't know what to say. How do I make this session effective? Does that sound familiar? I hear this from my clients all the time when they're first getting started and getting those first few clients. And so what I want to walk you through today is really how to have that first session with a new client. What do you do on that first session? How do you make it effective? What are the things you should make sure that you are covering? So I'm going to walk through them. I have 5 different things that I think are really helpful to do on that first coaching session. So the first thing is really setting expectations with your client, because a lot of people are new to coaching. They maybe haven't worked with a coach. So just understanding how that coach-client relationship works and really knowing, okay, like how many sessions are included, going through all this. Most likely you sent them a coaching contract and some sort of intake form or welcome packet, I like to call it, before that first session, and you can go through that together. But it is important to go through those things with them on the first session. Like, what happens if they miss a appointment? I usually tell people, like, you have to give 24 hours notice, unless it's an emergency, of course, but otherwise they lose that session. Things like how long are the sessions, making sure they understand that, showing up on time, not being distracted, not having any distractions while you guys are doing your coaching sessions, knowing whether they're all going to be done on Zoom or are they going to be done over the phone, like really setting these expectations so that your clients know what to expect. And this helps as far as in the future, if these things happen, you've already had this conversation so they know. Otherwise, it's weird, like you have someone who misses a coaching session or they're showing up late or something. Like, you've already set these expectations in the very beginning so that your client knows, okay? So I would go through that, also making sure they know, kind of how the coach-client relationship works, what your responsibilities are, what the client's responsibilities are. I'd go through all of that. Really setting boundaries so that they know when you're available to them. Like, do they have email access to you? Do they have text access to you, access on social media? Like, be really clear about those things so that your client knows. And I would do this. I always recommend like just email, I think is great. And I don't think that your client needs to be texting you and stuff like that. Like, obviously you can decide those things, but really setting those expectations is important, and it should be in a way that feels good to you, right? Like, do you really want your clients texting you all the time? Like, do you want to keep your work more separate from your personal life? Which for me, I do. So I keep that in mind when I'm setting these boundaries and letting people know, like, if they're sending me an email too, like, I'm not available on the weekends. I'm not answering emails in the evening. It's during the work hours, and it usually takes me 24 hours to get back to you. Okay, so just set all those expectations and those boundaries from the very beginning. So that's number 1. Number 2 is, like I said before, I like to give people a welcome packet or a series of questions that they answer before that first session, and then send it back to me before that first session so that we can go through it together. And I typically will dive a bit deeper into their answers and ask any additional clarifying questions that I have so that I really get a good idea what's going on for someone. What are the things that are their biggest challenges? What are really their goals that they want to accomplish through working together? Once again, it's important to know all of this before we get started. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3 is deciding on really and getting clear on what is that main goal that my client wants to accomplish through the work we're doing together. And I do recommend having one main goal that you're working on together. If you accomplish that goal and you want to move on to another goal through your coaching, like, that's fine. But you want to really think about when you are focusing your energy on one thing, it's much easier to accomplish one thing than if you're like, I'm going to help you lose weight and improve your relationship and get healthy and, like all these different things. Like, obviously by working on this one goal, it's going to impact probably all the other areas of their life. But once again, you're focusing on that one main goal, and the things you're doing will ripple out. But it's much easier to have that focus so that you're moving towards something and know if you're being successful, because you can look at different measurements of whether you're moving towards that goal or not. Okay. So pick that one main goal and be realistic about it, right? If you're working with someone and they want to lose 50 pounds and you're working with them for 3 months, like, what's really realistic as far as how much weight they can expect to lose within that amount of time. Okay. So set those goals. Number 4 is giving your client, I really like to say maybe one action step. So I always like, the big thing about coaching and the difference between coaching and therapy is coaching is a lot more action based. So we're really looking at taking action to reach a specific goal. And so I always like to leave my client with an action step. For the next week, I would say like 1 to 3 on that first session. I think 1 is good starting point, but really giving them an action step to be working on or to take before your next session together, so that they have something to be doing, so they have some action to be implementing, because that's really how we get the changes, is through taking action. And I think about what would be most helpful to this person. So really, when I go through their welcome packet with them, getting clear on what was their biggest challenge, like what's probably having the biggest impact on them right now, and what's the one action step that they can take that is going to make the biggest difference for them right now. And that's going to be individualized based on that client, and really looking through, like, if someone isn't sleeping at all, right? Like, I'm going to want to give them something to help address that right now, because that's probably a very big problem and having a huge impact on their life. Maybe I can tell, like, from their welcome packet that the biggest issue is maybe their diet and what they're eating. So my one action step for that week may be to keep a food diary or food journal, so that I can see where they're at with what they're eating and then make recommendations based off of that. Okay. So really give them that at least, like one action step, 2 probably maximum, but so that they have something to do during that week, and so that they can see some impact and some changes right away, I think is good. And then providing any resources that they may need to take that action step. So if it's a book, if it's like a video or a handout that I need to give them, maybe they don't need anything, and that's fine. Don't give them something just to give them something. But if there's something that would be helpful for them with that action step, provide it for them, and you can always email it to them after the session. Okay. So that's really what that first coaching session, the layout that works really well that I have found as far as working with your clients. And then I want to just talk a little bit about what I do in those follow-up sessions, really the format that I typically follow. So it's usually just checking in with someone. Hey, how'd this week go? What went well? What do you feel like you got stuck on? And then educating them on anything that they need to know to help with those things that they're really could use support around, working through any sort of mindset or habit things that are popping up for them that they might need clarity on, or that I can see as a coach that they may not be recognizing, right? Like the mindset and habit piece is huge, because that's really what makes the big impacts in someone's life and what's going to help them move towards their goals. And then once again, any resources that would be helpful. Is there any handouts? Is there any books that would be helpful for them to read? Any sort of videos or, blogs or recipes, stuff like that would be helpful to them. Once again, only when necessary. Don't just be giving your clients a bunch of crap that they don't need, okay? Because that's overwhelming, and we don't want to overwhelm people. Just give them what's absolutely going to be helpful to them. And then once again, giving them their action steps for the week and making sure that they're very clear on the action steps and that they know exactly what to do. And laid out for them easily. So 1 to 3 action steps, I think, is typically good. Give people more than that and they're going to get overwhelmed, right? That's why you want to really keep each coaching session to kind of like 1, maybe 2 topics so that you're not overwhelming someone and giving them like 10 action steps to be taking each week, because they're going to get overwhelmed and not do it. So we want to keep it simple and streamlined for people and really doable so that they can make those little wins that are going to lead them towards their goal. Okay. So I would love to hear from you in the comments. Did you find this helpful as far as doing your first coaching session and really the follow-up sessions, so that you feel more confident when you have those coaching sessions with your clients? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you want more videos just like this. I do new videos each week. And if you want to dive a bit deeper into the steps to building a successful coaching business in a way that is authentic and aligned, and yes, introvert friendly, I have a free training that dives into that, and I will link it right below this video. So make sure that you check it out because I know you're going to find it super helpful. So I want to thank you so much for joining me in this week's video. Get out there and start coaching and changing lives, and I will see you next time.